I'm waiting on the chief.
All right. No, we ain't check the We got paramedics in it. All right. Okay. All right, everybody ready to get started? Ms. Banks. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and call the meeting to order.
It's early on.
If everybody could take their seat. All right, so we are calling our March 14th, Tuesday, 2023 meeting to order. Thank you all for coming. Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Sanchez. Trustee Reyes-Palmer. Here. Trustee Jones.
Here.
Trustee Lightfoot.
Here.
Trustee Peppers.
Here.
Trustee Brandon.
Here.
Mayor Booker.
Here.
Quorum present.
All right, we are going to step with Ms. Banks. You take it from here.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Mayor Booker and Board of Trustees. Tonight's invocation will be led by Pastor Beverly Dukes, who is the pastor of the Neighborhood United Methodist Church here in Maywood. She was appointed to Neighborhood United Methodist Church in July of 2021 and enjoys empowering the youth in ministries, meeting the needs of our community, and preaching the Word of God. Neighborhood United Methodist Church has been a part of Maywood since 1897. It was created when a few earnest believers held prayer meetings at a home located at 214 South 19th Avenue on the same block as the church's current location at 151719 Washington Boulevard. Their weekly services are held on Sundays at 10:45 a.m. Pastor Dukes.
Let us pray. Mighty and everlasting God, you have been with us throughout all generations. It is you in whom we trust and we move and we have our being. You have created us for yourself. You have created us because of love. Allow our hearts to rest in you, thee, O God, rest for the restless souls. Grant us the piety of heart, the strength of purpose, that no selfish passion can hinder us from knowing your will, and no weakness shall follow us. We only follow your way. In your light, may us see life clearly, and in your service, perfect freedom. Be with us as we proceed with this trustee meeting, and allow your will to be done, now and forevermore. You are our Lord, and you are our Savior. Amen.
Amen. Right, if we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Captain Wade, can you open that door for me?
That's it.
All right. I need 5, approval of minutes for Committee of the Whole at the Village Special Board Meeting of Board of Trustees on Tuesday, February 7th, 2023.
So moved. Second.
So moved by Trustee Brandon, second by Trustee Jones. Please call the roll.
Trustee Sanchez. Trustee Reyes-Palmer.
Aye.
Trustee Jones.
Aye.
Trustee Lightfoot.
Aye.
Trustee Peppers.
Aye.
Trustee Brandon.
Aye.
Mayor Booker.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right. Community engagement, Ms. Banks, you're back up.
Good evening again. We have a proclamation tonight in honor and recognition of Women's History Month, whereas President Jimmy Carter issued a presidential proclamation declaring the week of March 8, 1980 as National Women's History Week, urging libraries, schools, and community organizations to focus their observances on the leaders who struggled for equality. And where starting in 1987, the month of March is nationally recognized as Women's History Month. And whereas women have been leaders in securing their own rights of suffrage and equal opportunity, emancipation, labor, and civil rights, creating a more fair and just society for all. Whereas throughout our history, extraordinary women have made significant contributions to the growth and strength of our village, our state, and nation in countless ways. And whereas through leadership and innovation, generations of women have made significant contributions in science, medicine, technology, education, business, politics, arts and culture, and entrepreneurship. And whereas, despite their contributions, the role of women in history has often been overlooked and undervalued. Therefore, the Honorable Mayor Nathaniel George Booker and the Board of Trustees designates March as Women's History Month in the village of Maywood and pays tribute to the women who have served and currently serves the village of Eternal Light as elected and appointed officials, commissioners, volunteers, staff, and countless others who are committed to improving the quality of life in the community of Maywood. We have a few announcements. Starting with condolences. We offer condolences to the family of Mr. DeAndre Harris, nephew of Trustee Siobhan Reyes-Plummer and resident of Maywood, as well as owner of Premier Catering, a popular food vendor at the Maywood Fest, best known for their variety of turkey leg menu options. Condolences to the family of longtime Maywood resident Ms. Lucille Hubbard. Condolences to the family of Trustee Antonio Sanchez on the passing of his beloved grandmother. We extend congratulations to Reverend Marvin E. Wiley, pastor of the Rock of Ages Baptist Church here in Maywood, in celebration of his 32nd pastoral anniversary. Just a few upcoming events. Let's Talk Maywood with Mayor Booker on Tuesday, March 21st at 6 p.m. here in Council Chambers. Come and hear updates on the business moratorium and business corridors. West Cook Lunch and Learn with Proviso Community Bank on Thursday, March 30th at 12 noon at the Lyford Recreation Center in Maywood. Attendees will learn more about the Maywood Business Improvement Grant Program, the West Cook Business Enterprise Zone, and the Wintrust Business Investment Micro Loan Program. Save the date for Village Pride, Village-wide Community Beautification on Saturday, April 22nd at 9 a.m. at Maywood's Veteran Park, right here behind the police station. The Maywood Park District will have their Women Empowerment Conference on this Saturday, March the 18th at 9 o'clock a.m. at the Lyford Recreation Center. The Village of Maywood is excited to announce the launch of our new village website. The new domain is www.maywood-il.gov. This new site offers user-friendly capabilities, is ADA compliant, you can receive electronic notifications, and it is translated for more than 25 languages. We also want to acknowledge St. Patrick's Day, also known as the Feast Day of the Patron Saint of Ireland, which will be held on this Friday, March 17th. At this time, Mayor Booker, I would like to introduce the new Executive Director of the Maywood Public Library, Mr. Leighton Snell.
Good evening, citizens of Maywood and the Village of Maywood administration. My name is Leighton Snell. Hope this thing is working. It's great to meet you all. I just wanted to introduce myself to you and let you know about all the exciting things going on at the library right now. I brought some of these mailers out with me in case anyone did not receive them at your home. The library, hopefully you know, has got new hours starting with the new year. We've increased hours at the library by 20 hours. We're open Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. until 7 p.m. and Friday and Saturday, 10 a.m. until 4 p.m. And as we move forward, we will hopefully be able to increase those hours even more so that the library is able to provide services to the community. If anyone would like one of these, if you've not received one, I brought them with me. I also brought business cards with me. I'd be happy to give anyone a business card that would like them. I am getting my feet grounded. I've been there about 3 weeks now, getting my brain wrapped around the budgeting and everything that's going on there. Everything's fantastic so far. We have my first board meeting tomorrow at the library board, and I'm going to be making myself available to you. If anyone wants to stop by the library to meet and talk one-on-one with me, I'd be happy to do that. So, thank you all.
Well, thank you. Let's all take a moment of silence for those that have been lost. Thank you. Okay, we are going to go into 7, public hearing. Oh, I am so sorry. Ms. Banks, you are not done. We got some queries to do. I'm sorry, guys.
At this time, we're excited to introduce and swear in our fire personnel. So if Chief Craig Bruno.
We had him wait for you.
We have to put that new.
Thank you, Mrs. Banks. Good evening, Mayor, Board of Trustees.
Good evening.
I want to acknowledge 2 members of the fire department who have reached a milestone, and I want to say I'm very proud of these 2 gentlemen, and they have made and will continue to make significant contributions to the village of Maywood and the citizens for which the fire department serves. So on behalf of my office, I want to congratulate these 2 gentlemen, and I'll call them up. The first one, promotion to the rank of Fire Lieutenant, Mr. Philip Tierney. I want to read this off real quick. This is a certificate of promotion given this 14th day of March 2023 by the Village of Maywood Fire Department to Philip Tierney in recognition of his promotion to Fire Lieutenant on today, March 14, 2023. Congratulations, Philip. And I'd also like to call up congratulations to Mr. Robert Hamilton. Mr. Hamilton has completed 1 year of service, and I'll read this off, given this 14th day of March 2023 by the Village of Maywood Fire Department to Robert Hamilton, in recognition of his completion of 1 year of service. Again, this day, March 14, 2023. Congratulations.
Oh, are we doing this?
He doesn't even have his face here. That's true. Maybe it's not like a 1 foot. No, I got
You, Robert Hamilton, being appointed to the office of firefighter. And do you, Philip Tierney, having been appointed to the office of lieutenant of the fire department in the village of Maywood, County County of Cook, State of Illinois, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Illinois, and I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office to the best of my ability, dated this day, 14th day of March 2023.
I'm like right here. You guys want to come up?
Yeah, guys, come on up, come on up. You're under order, come on.
Come on. Come on.
So it's shaved. Nope, not me.
Mr. Robinson,
Take it off.
we'll get the PDA on this also. Photo service. Real quick,
Can you get everybody?
Yeah.
You gotta keep going back.
All right, 1, 2, 3, Maywood.
Maywood!
One more. 1, 2, 3, Maywood.
Maywood! It's all good.
Always good to celebrate good things happening in Maywood. All right, so we are going to go into public hearing now. So I need a motion to go into public hearing. Motion by trustee Reyes-Plummer, second by trustee Lightford. Please call the roll.
Trustee Sanchez. Trustee Reyes-Plummer.
Aye.
Trustee Jones.
Aye.
Trustee Lightfoot.
Aye.
Trustee Peppers.
Aye.
Trustee Brandon.
Aye.
Mayor Booker.
Aye.
Motion carried.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and open up public hearing concerning the proposed fiscal year 2023-2024 budget from March 1st, 2023 through April 30th, 2024. Open that meeting at 7:18 p.m. Please call the roll.
Trustee Sanchez. Trustee Reyes-Plummer.
Here.
Trustee Jones.
Here.
Trustee Lightfoot.
Here.
Trustee Peppers.
Here.
Trustee Brandon.
Here.
Mayor Booker.
Here.
Quorum present.
All right, so we are acknowledging that the public hearing notice was published in a newspaper, and then we'll go into presentation on the proposed fiscal year 2023-2024 operating budget, May 1st, 2023 through April 30th, 2024, by village manager and finance director.
Publication in Sun Times, March 4th, compliance with the state law.
Good evening,
And pretty much here is just giving you a quick overview of what the total operating budget is. I have a little bit of I have a sign in, but I'll move forward while we try to work that out. So the total operating budget for all funds.
Just click the button that says use rehearsed documents, just turn that on.
Yeah.
Right next where it says hide slide. Right next
To
where
the
it
right.
says hide slide,
To the right.
to the left. I mean,
It's right here.
It's right
There you
there.
go.
Remember the click button where it says use rehearsed documents?
Yeah.
Yeah, click the.
Right.
There you go. So now you
So I was just trying to get
There.
Okay.
What's going
We're
through?
still not doing that.
Right, you gotta just. You just work from there.
If not, I can just speak what's not showing on the screen, so that's fine. Just use go back to the slideshow. So what I was attempting to show you in my time is that the total operating budget is $53,163,000 and some change, and it's broken down by these funds. So you have what our current budget is that we're operating in today, and then what we're proposing for the next fiscal year. And I won't read it to you, I'll just, give you a second to take a look. And so essentially, starting off with the general fund, this is our major operating fund, and this is what we use to operate day to day. The projected or proposed budget for the general fund for fiscal '24 is $35,085,527. And so we have this proposed in our revenue and in our expenditures. So it is a balanced budget. And again, these things are for such things as just our municipal services to provide health, safety, and welfare, which is in the form of our police officers and our firefighters that you have an opportunity to see this evening. So just a little breakdown of how our revenues are derived. The lion's share comes from property tax, and then we do have some state shared revenue, our police and fire pensions. The police and fire do generate a little bit of revenue, and then our fines and fees. So here's just a quick percent breakdown of those same revenues that I mentioned. Again, here are the departments that operate out of the general fund. We do have a proposed new department, so that is highlighted in red. So the general fund difference from the current fiscal year being into our proposed, there's a difference of about 1.7 million, and I'll go through that throughout the presentation. Here is an analysis of those funds that breaks down that 1.7 difference, and it goes by each of our departments. And so as you see, there are several who are over, several that are under, and then I'll just take you through the departments that have the greatest change from the current year to the proposed fiscal 2024 budget. And then again, here are the expenses. I showed you who and how our revenues were generated. So again, this just breaks down who is spending the most money in one way, and we'll take you through that quickly. So these are those expenses, and then the next slide just shows the percentages. That was timed in, so that's why it's looking a little off there. But if I look at my slides, I can see clearly that the largest share is the police department, and for reason, right, to provide the safety for the residents. So that's just what this slide was trying to indicate for you. Our central services this year, we did a lot of shifting so we could adequately audit these expenses, like our telephones, our copiers, our liability insurance claims and workers' comp and things like that. And they were spread out throughout the departments and part of HR. And HR will still manage these functions, but that really isn't an HR expenditure. So we just wanted to, better identify our expenditures and how they relate to each person's budget. being that it's not an HR budgeted item, we do have an area that's central services, and in the past you saw we had such thing as health insurance for some of our retirees and for the library and our housing department that we budgeted for health insurance. So these are just some of the new items. We're gonna get an equipment rental agreement that'll be throughout the village, and so we won't see this in each of the departments as we currently do. So as you see, that department, reflects a 253% increase, and so that's why. And then the next one is Public Works. Although this increase isn't large, this is the department that folks see most, right? In terms of the street and the infrastructure trend changes that we make. And so I just wanted to list that out here, that we do have some upcoming electrical maintenance, some contractual and professional services that do include infrastructure, repairs. We have some capital expenditures and some equipment. So the capital expenditures here represent the ones that are over $5,000 for the major equipment in Public Works, whereas that smaller number for equipment is in the lands and buildings. That would come in the form of some mowers and things like that. So that's why I just identified those separately. Our community development department is showing an increase of 105%, and this is basically due to reshaping and revamping that department. And so there was a couple of new positions that are proposed for it, just to have it run a little bit more smoothly. We have some contractual and professional services, and this is really more related to the development of our new and restructuring of our TIP areas. The Historic Preservation Commission and the Planning and Zoning Board of Commission will now be a part of community development. So we've always had a liaison, right, and it was always that person. But just again, to make sure that we have adequate managing and that liaison is cemented, we just thought, it would be better suited to go under community development. Okay, so that really rounds out the general fund. So the next fund that we're going to go over is the motor fuel tax fund. All right? And so this is derived from the taxes for operating our vehicles. So everyone who has a vehicle, they pay a small percentage of this. And this is one of our state share revenues that I mentioned, but it's not a part of the general fund. So we don't get this directly. It is passed through to us from the state. So this has a large increase for the upcoming year, and this is basically due to a roadway project that we're doing on Washington Avenue. So we've talked about it, and now it's here. So we'll be doing that next year. The recreation fund, right now, the main thing that we've been doing with it and what we've been talking about with this fund is the pool. We do have a building, but mostly, all of our attention has been centered around how we move the pool forward and what we do with that. So again, here, this shows a big decrease because we did have grant funding before that we had segregated in a match to do some repairs to the pool. But now we're looking at doing a whole overhaul. So right now, until we get all of that grant funding together, this money will just be focused on doing whatever works we need to present that full package. So all the scope is included to get that project moving forward. CDBG. So here it's flat. We're doing another project, but we've also been awarded the same amount as in the current fiscal year. So that concludes that fund. Moving right along to the water, sewer, and garbage fund. As we all know, this is a proprietary fund, so it is separate from corporate. It does pay salaries for a few of our departments, but it is a separate fund. So essentially what that means is whatever we make is what we spend. We do not borrow from the corporate fund to fund this, any of the works that's done under this fund. So here we had a little bit of a decrease. So that's what that again, I just wanted to do a quick analysis of this fund, because we do have the pump station here, we have our water, sewer, and maintenance, which is part of Public Works, both of those top two are, and then collections, which is part of the finance department. So this would be the ladies who actually send out the bills and do collections, and then there's some other contractual items that are part of this budget as well. So just to list a few. Again, as I mentioned, that motor fuel infrastructure project, a part of that is underground work, right? And so we could assess a part of that bills for water and sewer, because it'll have to do with a lot of pipe and plumbing issues. They have the I-290, annual televising, the combined sewer repairs and lining, and so forth and so on. I won't read the entire list, but it's there for your review. Our next fund is our Madison TIP, to which I referenced earlier in community development. We are looking to extend and expand, so that's part of an expense that we're seeing there, and so the fund is actually fully developed to be able to pay its own expenditures. So there is close to $1 million difference here. Again, it's a lot to do with the repair, the infrastructure work that we have scheduled this year are supported in the motor fuel tax fund. So we were able to relieve or shift our infrastructure from Madison to. But some of the things that we do still have here, the first capital project is our 2022 roadway improvement, and this is on 4th Avenue from Washington to Oak Street. So we'll be finishing up that. And then we have some construction and maybe land acquisition, and there are a few border things here that can be charged in a Madison TIP based on where they're located. And then we still, have our pilot curb appeal program and our business improvement program, to which these two have not really taken off yet, but we do still budget them, and we are still, offering it. The Roosevelt TIP is a smaller increment, and we reduced that by $50,000. And in this current year, we had allocated a fund balance from the previous year. So the increment is essentially similar. We're just not benefiting from an allocation of any current funds. When we did the budget, we didn't have any major projects that required such, and so we didn't. Some of the things that we have here, which is our public improvements, again, the curb appeal pilot and the business improvement program, which has not really taken off, but we're still offering it for the use of the businesses in the area. Last but not least, I did want to make sure that we, did mention our grant funding. So one that we have, the largest one that we currently have is our ARPA, which was the American Rescue Plan Act. And we have been fully funded here. We received our full allocation, which was the $3.1 million. And this will be able to, we can benefit from this by any expenditures that we have that came after March 3rd, but we must have it obligated by December 31st of 2024, entered into contracts, already decided what we're going to do, and it has to be expended by December 31st, 2026. Just want to keep that in front of us. So what we did was kind of went through maybe about 50% of the use. There are a lot of other grants that are out, and so we've kind of been a little bit conservative on our use of the ARPA because we wanted to make sure we, utilized it in areas that we won't receive grant funding for. So some staff, along with the finance committee chair and committeemen, kind of took a look at some things that we thought we could, potentially use it for. And these are just the buckets of eligible uses. So one of the first things were public health, and that again, that could relate to this police building, the Masonic Temple, and just some things that could use some repair there. So we thought maybe $300,000 would help that, along with some community organizations. We just listed, of course, we're not, stating that this is something that we're going to do. It's proposed. Some organizations like LCCA, Quinn Center, Housing Board, way back in, and the like. Some other things that we looked at was the negative economic impacts, right? So we thought, $750,000 could do some good here. And there was a pilot program that I think came out in some surrounding communities and maybe in the city of Chicago, where the Ring cameras were offered to its residents. And so that just kind of served as an aid of some semblance of surveillance for the police department. So that was one of the things that we kind of made note of. We made note of re-engaging and being, a stronger partner with the Chamber, with the Maywood Chamber of Commerce, and some of our other organizations like our historic preservation. And this would touch on the tourism part of it. So for those of you who don't know, there's the different initiatives, but then there's about 10 different initiatives under each. And so then, tourism is one of those in the negative impacted areas. So again, there's a few things that we came up with, some period path signage, and again, most of it was focused on tourism, household assistance, and small economic assistance for the businesses that might be identified in the Chamber of Commerce. Service to disproportionately impacted communities, we thought $20,000, could do some good with our community block clubs. Maybe we can get that back and really engage the residents and the communities through their block club efforts, and $20,000 might do some good there. Premium pay, just some thought around, how do we thank us, employees who work day after day. No. Yeah, but just something, so there's just some thought around that. None of these ideas are fully developed, but just thought, and we felt, that might be, a good amount to divvy up amongst your staff. All of your staff. And then infrastructure, $250. We budget a lot for infrastructure throughout the budget through each fund. But here we just thought this might help, like with the sewer. Well, it falls under the water, sewer, and broadband. But a lot of folks are still, having challenges with their Wi-Fi, the internet, the pace in which it runs and that. So we thought, this might be a good amount for that. And then lastly was just administrative. So this could be, something that we, may have helped other larger community organizations that are around us. What I mentioned before were more like social organizations. But here, we could administratively, help with some other organizations with $150,000. So, and also, we have talked about, a new building. So maybe this could help with land acquisition. So again, we just, really took some time, staff and the finance committee, to really just sit down and think of things that might potentially be of use. And again, this only represents half of that upfront spending. Just about. And that is it. Any questions?
All right. Thank you so much, Director Satchel. So we'll go to 5 questions and comments by board members. All right, we'll go Trustee Jones.
Well, one, I wanted to just thank the staff that came to our fiscal accountability and government transparency, our last meeting in February, where they did a high-level overview of the budget. There were some notable changes. I know we're doing a little bit of a reorg in terms of the community development department and a bunch of other budget initiatives, and that meeting was close to 3 hours, and I don't think we planned on it being that way. So I just wanted to thank them for committing that time and walking us through it. And also want to thank Director Satchel for kind of walking through the budget, but also the ARPA resources. I wanted to just kind of speak on that a little bit. Ms. Satchel did address, again, just some general ideas. We wanted to use this platform now to hear from the board and the community in terms of some of the ideas that we have, so we can officially present something to the board, more of an itemized list under those categories, those allowable use categories. And so I know there are some things that were mentioned and some organizations that were mentioned. Those are just ones that we're aware of, but once we assign the resources to these categories, that's where we want to do the due diligence at creating criteria and applications and so forth, to make sure that these resources are getting to those folks that like we all were impacted by COVID. That was the point of it. I know Director Satchel also mentioned that we have until the end of 2024 to assign these costs, but I believe the nature of the resources was an emergency response to COVID. So with that being said, some of these issues, especially, certain capital improvements, mental health services, substance abuse services, and those type of things, you don't want to necessarily sit on those services, because those type of areas tend to, as time goes on, things get worse. So our logic was, as Director Satchel stated, was to utilize about half of the pool that we've used, potentially in this fiscal year, and then use the other half to, see what's the best way we can maximize those uses. There are grants out there are other programs out there that do help, and so we want to make sure that we're dotting every I and crossing every T in terms of opportunities that we have. But I'm just hoping to hear from you all again in terms of what ways in which you see those resources allocated. One of the things that I wanted to just highlight, that was one of the negative economic impacts, was the household assistance program. So I know Director Satchel mentioned about the Ring Doorbell initiative that I believe was presented to the board recently, and I know I said a few words to Trustee Peppers about it, but we thought that would be a unique opportunity, particularly in our hot areas, our red areas, or whatever you want to call them, to encourage residents to whatever we can to get more technology in those spaces, video recordings for issues like people stealing in cars and packages, and think about ways that could be a win-win for both the residents and staff. So if we are offering these services, maybe one of the criteria would be that they'd be willing to, in the event the police needed to utilize that footage, that they'd be kind of giving us pre-approval to that footage. So that was one thing. Also, another thing I wanted to know, as far as just ideas that we threw out, there was a senior home repair program. So at the township, there is a handyman program. We thought that might be a good opportunity to, one, market the program more broadly, but then also utilize some resources so we can scale other issues that might arise that aren't within their original scope that they normally do. So we thought that might be a unique opportunity for us to partner with the township like we've done before, but make this unique to Maywood, where some of our most vulnerable residents that have issues with their homes, maybe we can help finally get them over the hump with certain costs. And again, we would come up with a criteria what that looks like, but we thought this was a unique opportunity again to address some of those issues. And then lastly, we threw out some organizations there, the Maywood Chamber of Commerce, in terms of small business economic assistance, but and kind of see what that relationship is. But some of those relationships, when you're not able to meet in person, and they get fractured, or some of these organizations don't have the resources to pursue some of the ideas that they have. We thought this was a unique opportunity to build those relationships with some of our, whether it be grassroots organizations or agencies that are out in the community that maybe we haven't touched base with in a couple of years, or in a few years, in terms of formally thinking about ideas of what we can do to push some of these initiatives forward. So just wanted to highlight a few. Again, I'd love to hear from you all, but just wanted to let you know that we are thinking about these things, and we are creating ideas, and our thoughts that at least half of these resources we like to use sooner rather than later, again, start thinking about criteria that will ultimately get vetted from the board. But just wanted to highlight some of the conversations that have been happening at the finance committee level. That's it.
Thank you. Are there any other Board of Trustees before we go to public comment? All right, we'll go to questions for the public and public comment.
There's no public comment for public hearing.
All right, we'll go to final questions and comments for board members. All right, we'll go 8, motion to recommend approval of ordinance approving the fiscal year 2023-2024 Village of Maywood budget, May 1st, 2023 through April 30th, 2024.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve approved by trustee Brandon. I need a second.
Second.
Second by trustee Jones. Are there any questions? Please call the roll.
Trustee Sanchez, trustee Reyes-Plummer,
Aye.
trustee Jones,
Aye.
trustee Lightfoot, trustee Peppers,
Aye.
trustee Brandon,
Aye.
Mayor Booker,
Aye.
motion carried.
All right, I just like to thank everybody. Most importantly, he's being quiet over here, but I'm going to thank our acting village manager, Mr. Frischke. So we really took every budget down to 0 and had them rebuild from the beginning to see like why is money where it is in certain line items. And that was something that I'm thankful that every department head under the leadership of Mr. Frischke got taken care of, when we were able to explain and justify instead of just copying and repeat a budget every year. So every single line item was explained, and that's why some of those expenditures were moved around, and that's why some items were moved around within the budget. But I think they are understating how much time was put into creating this fiscal year's budget. There were more department head meetings, there were more department meetings behind the scenes. Jim and Miss Satchel, Director Satchel, definitely had long nights here at Village Hall. And again, as Trustee Jones said, the staff did, even after having their several meetings for the budget, also met with the Financial Accountability and Government Transparency Committee for 3 hours as well after they had worked all day. So I really just want to give a round of applause to staff and as well to Acting Manager Krischke for a job well done and making sure that we have a fiscal budget that we can explain every line item to by detail. And with that said, we'll do a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close.
Second.
Motion by trustee Brandon, second by trustee Reyes-Plummer. Are there any questions? Please call the roll.
Trustee Sanchez, trustee Reyes-Plummer,
Aye.
trustee Jones,
Aye.
trustee Lightfoot, trustee Peppers,
Aye.
trustee Brandon,
Aye.
Mayor Booker,
Aye.
carried.
All right, I need a motion to go back into our regular special board meeting.
Motion.
Motion by trustee Reyes-Plummer,
Second.
second by trustee Brandon. Please call the roll. We're going back into the meeting at 7:48.
Trustee Sanchez, trustee Reyes-Plummer,
Aye.
trustee Jones,
Aye.
trustee Lightfoot, trustee Peppers,
Aye.
trustee Brandon,
Aye.
Mayor Booker,
Aye.
motion carried.
All right, so we're looking at the financial report, financial analysis for the month ending in February 2023, financial report as well as the warrant list. Does anybody have any questions for Director Satchel? Hearing none, thank you, Director Satchel. There are no village presidents reports aside from have a lovely, lovely March and wish you all blessings and peace. So 11, we'll go to public comment.
Public comment from Gloria Brownlee. She's not here.
Okay.
And we have a public comment from Dr. Mary May Larry.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
First off, I would like to start off by celebrating each lady in her respective place doing this Women History Month. So I celebrate you on this evening, but I want to refer to my notes due to the lateness of the hour. This is a follow-up to the question from the last board meeting on Maywood Prepared Readiness Plan. It was stated and mentioned in reference to the active shooter scenario. We know that that's a difference between crises or disaster, even an EMP. So that's like apples, oranges, brother, sister, two different entities. Again, I'm seeking clarification from this board to allow the finance director to address Maywood's sustainability in reference to the resources that we have through the emergency resource funding. I'm seeking a breakdown once again on this evening, the level of operational funds, how long can we stay afloat, bill stains, 1 month, 6 months, non-existing. I'm asking for the finance director to respond. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have another public comment from Diane Baker, but this is a statement. She wants to allow Dr. Mary Larry to speak on her.
Oh, you have time. Gotcha. Did you have anything else you wanted to talk? Well, there are items. If nobody has a question.
Thank you so much once again. I'm Mary McLary, and I'm speaking on behalf of Diane W. Breaker, and I'm just going to refer to her notes if that's okay with you. She has 2 questions. The first question is, what are the village operational hours for Saturday to accommodate those working residents who work banker's hours during the week, which do not afford them the ability to come in to conduct business Monday through Friday? And then she has a second question that falls under customer service. The residents' calls goes, she stated, unanswered. We know that normally business answer calls on the first or second, no later than the 3rd ring. So the residents are concerned.
Okay, thank you.
That completes the public comment.
All right, well, thank you, Miss Mary Larry. I would say again, if you could get with our Director of Community Engagement, Ms. Banks, and she can coordinate with our Homeland Security Director in regards to that safety plan. That was the same comment I gave 30 days ago. So that's the same comment I'll give. Once you've had that meeting, if you have any follow-up questions, then have those follow-up questions. But that meeting really needs to happen with the Director of Homeland Security. So if you could get with Ms. Banks has reached out to schedule the meeting with you. So if you could actually just schedule that meeting, that would be great. Ms. Baker, the village used to have Saturday hours, and this was well before I became a trustee or a mayor. It was decided later at that time that it wasn't a best use of staff hours because nobody was really coming in. But there is a community survey that will be going out, and I can definitely add that to one of the questions and make sure that that's a part of the survey to assess how many people would actually benefit from using Saturday hours, because that's something that was considered. I believe we talked about it in last year's budget and year before last budget, but it always goes back to when it was happening, it wasn't a utilized thing. So we'll look at that. And then for the phone systems, we actually have a new phone system. So if you call now, it makes you press to what department that you're going to. So I haven't really heard more recently, since we got some new things going on within our technology, that's still an issue. But if it is still an issue, if you could again just let our community engagement manager, Ms. Banks, know, because it could be something as simple as one of the extensions that used to exist doesn't exist anymore. So it might just be the wrong line that it's going to. But I haven't really gotten any feedback about calls not being answered more recently. But if you have any specific department or extensions, if you could get with Ms. Banks so that she can get with our IT, that would be great. All right, thank you everyone for your public comment. So we'll go to 12, Village Manager's Report. So everything under the Village Manager's Report is on the omnibus agenda. Are there any questions in regards to any line items on the omnibus agenda? Hearing none.
Yeah,
Trustee Brandon?
I have a question, and I guess this question is for the village manager or Angela Smith or someone in code in regards to we're replacing Pro Champs with another vendor, and I guess what my concerns are is, and I wasn't in support of Pro Champs based on what I've had heard from staff in previous years in regards to our own ability to manage the vacant lots and vacant properties throughout the village. So when they came here the last time, I know. So I just want to know what progress was made with the past company. I know that they're not going to be renewed, but what happened with that particular agreement that was on the table? Did anything happen with it? I haven't heard anything about it since it was voted on. I haven't seen any presentations, or the gentleman have not been back before this body in regards to giving us an update on the status of the program. But on this agenda, I see that we have a new company that is proposing to do the same thing that Pro Champs had proposed to do. So just from the community development department or whomever, if they can give me some insight or background in regards to this new company that's been proposed to come in to do what I had heard from staff that they were capable of doing within their department. If Angela or the village manager can respond to that question, please.
Sure. I think, Trustee Brandon, what I'm actually going to do is actually get Stan Urban, who was Pro Champs, but is now HERA. So it's the same gentleman that got us Pro Champs, so he can be able to speak to the revenues that came in from Pro Champs and the differences of the revenues that will continue to come in the same way that Pro Champs did, but also bring in some new revenues that Pro Champs wasn't doing. And then once he answers those questions, if you still have questions, that would be great. But essentially, the same gentleman who presented us to Pro Champs is HERA. So he'll answer the questions in regards to previous revenues and new revenues, and then if you have any other questions for staff.
And before he proceeds, my question was directly to staff, because he's representing a company, right? And so I wanted to hear from someone on the village end about their thoughts on how the program was operating. So I know he is here today under a new company, but I want to hear from staff on the operational side, how the program is set up. So I appreciate it for being here, but if I could...
So we'll hear from Stan, and then since the actual department that handles it is Building and Code, Director Duncan can come up right after Stan to play off of what he's actually going to mention.
So could it be the other way around though? Could he come up first? Because I want to hear from staff first, then he can come and present.
Well, if he's going to give you... Stan, can you please proceed? No, can you please proceed?
Oh, proceed. I'm sorry, I thought you said seed.
No, you're already here. We'll hear from you, and then Director Duncan can follow.
The companies, to look at them in a broad sense, are identical twins, except one difference. And the big difference is, and I just met with staff about a week ago, and the city manager, village manager, to explain the difference. And it's very simple. There is a lot of money that is uncollected by Pro Champs because certain banks don't think they have to register. And the only way to do that is to get the law firm to handle that, to go after collections, starting with your personal administrative hearing court. And if no one shows up, then that law firm would take it to the county and file a lien against the property. Well, Pro Champs does not have any attorneys in Illinois. HERA has attorneys in Illinois. Staff was presented with some documents of who everyone was, are, and what they do, and they actually have the contact names. Now, the dollar amounts, the only ones that I'm familiar with was last month, one of the staff members that was in the meeting said, oh, we got $30,000 last year from Pro Champs. Prior to that, I don't know. I have not been with Pro Champs since January 1 of 2021. So I don't know the numbers. The staff will know the numbers. The dollar amounts that are being retained for the service are identical. We don't charge any more, we don't charge any less. We do the same structure of collection. The difference is we have attorneys that will come in, and most importantly, if they don't collect anything, they don't charge anything. They will take 33% of whatever is collected. And with that, I will sit down.
Thank you, Director Duncan.
Good evening, board.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir. So we're asking the question, Trustee, how has Pro Champs been working out for Pro Temps have been a great tool for my department. They have registered on average 30 to 50 properties, foreclosure or vacant properties on a monthly basis since they were enacted. The revenues generated from Pro Temp range from about 10,000 to probably about 18, 19,000. I don't have the report, but this is on a monthly basis. We've been getting this consistently, as well as building a database for the code inspectors to be able to contact the right property owners of a lot of these vacant and abandoned properties. Our new service offers the same type of service as Pro Champs with one added benefit. As Stan explained, that for the properties that fail to register, our new service has a team of attorneys that will then go after the bank. So that's an extra step that Pro Champs doesn't provide, and it will generate additional revenues for the department. Yeah, questions?
And then if you could just, and if Village Manager Christian, you could just follow up with a follow-up.
Yeah, I would say it's a more robust program than what we had. I think a couple things have been left out of importance. Through Pro Champs, we haven't had quite the level of registration on vacant properties. So in the program or plan that's offered by HERA, that will increase because they will focus on finding out those vacant property owners and be able to provide more services there. The enforcement portion of it is very true as well. And then the other portion of it is all of these services, the more robust services that we're getting, are actually going to cost the city, or the village, pardon me, less money for those services. So currently, Pro Champs, it's being charged out at $125 for every registration fee. Correct me if I'm wrong, Walter.
That's correct.
And the new program through here will result in a $100 fee to the village. The 33.5, that's when it goes to any sort of legal action. That'll be a different category, but the basic registrations for foreclosure and vacant properties, again, I believe when the programs that we've seen and the one that's being offered will be more robust, the cost will be less, we'll have more of an enforcement arm to this. And the other nice thing is, through here, we will be able to also add in other liens and fees that are currently not paid to the village. So water bills that aren't paid, those can be collected as well as part of the action. So we did take a good long look at this, and nothing wrong with Pro Champs, but this service just offers more robust services that will help us.
Trustee Jones?
Yeah, I wanted to make sure I understood the scope in terms of, let's say, all of the vacant or foreclosed homes in the community. So I just want to make sure my assumptions are right. So if there's a vacant or foreclosed home in the community, Pro Champs, and this is based on there being something out of code with the properties that we're making them register. I just want to make sure
it's abandoned.
No, or just abandoned. I guess I want to make sure I understand. So it's either that they're registered, and if they're not registered, then we're going to have the capabilities of pursuing something at Cook County. Is there any other criteria outside of registered or unregistered? If they're unregistered and it's vacant, then those property owners are going to be pursued at the county level, assuming that they don't eventually register, or they're registered and they're subscribing to whatever our criteria is.
We have an ordinance in the Village of Maywood that requires vacant or unoccupied structures to be registered with the village.
Okay.
So when a property is foreclosed on, Pro Champs and services like Harold, who we're taking on now, they monitor these foreclosure recordings at the Cook County Recorder's level. When the first filing comes in, they notify the property owners or the banks that there is an ordinance in the Village of Maywood that requires them to register.
Mm-hmm.
That, in turn, generates revenue for the village.
Right.
So they use other sources such as public utility, public information to ascertain whether a property is vacant or unoccupied, and if so, if they find that to be, they do notify those property owners of our ordinance and makes them aware that they're required to register.
Okay, got it. So essentially every vacant property in the community should be registered.
That is correct. The
And
ordinance
if they're-
requires every vacant property to register.
Okay, and if they're not registered, then the consequence is that now we have an avenue to put a lien on their homes for the cost of the registration?
Well, if the properties are not registered, as you know, with vacant and unoccupied structures, what happens? There's property maintenance issues that arise. There's squatters that take over the place. And when these properties are being foreclosed on and they're shuffled around through banks, through the foreclosure process, it's hard to find a responsible party for these. Pro-champs and services like that are helping the village to identify these property owners during that time.
Okay.
All right. Trustee Brandon.
Yeah, and just to go back, because I remember this conversation really clearly, and strong promotion of pro-champs, again, where I stood on the issue. For me, I guess what would have been even more helpful too if we would have had a breakdown, Mr. Duncan, in regards to, okay, so what was the prior to pro-champs or this new company that is being proposed tonight, what was the village bringing in? And then what do those numbers look like, after pro-champs came in? And what is the proposed amount that we would see with this new company as far as additional revenue is concerned? For me, I think that would have been really, really helpful. And just to see, just the more of the pros and the cons, and yeah. So I understand the additional piece. The only additional piece to me, it appears, and that was one of my concerns when it was presented with pro-champs, is that all of the work would have been on the village to enforce, with the owners of those properties. And so now we're saying that this particular company has the legal department to be able to go after the owners themselves.
Yes. So pro-champs would only provide a list of the properties that did not register, and it will be up to the village to pursue those owners of those properties for collections and finding. The new service will do that for us. There is a report. I do have a report as to when staff was administering this program versus when we hired the service to administer this program, and I believe the revenue is 3 to 4 times more. We generated 3 to 4 times more when staff was using the service than when staff was administering the program. Staff, one, my department has been short-staffed for the very last year. Pro-champs and services like that, they have tools that we don't have at our disposal. And I don't have the staff and the time to pursue it in the way that the service will.
Correct. Okay.
And if you just provide me with that breakdown documentation, so I can just get a copy of that, that'll be great. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Director Duncan. Are there any questions? All right. We'll go to village attorney's report. Does anybody have any questions in regards to what's on the omnibus agenda? Hearing none, we'll go to 14, trustee committee reports. There is omnibus agenda items for community policing and public safety committee, and then we already have approved the fiscal year 23-24. Are there any questions? All right, I need an omnibus agenda motion to approve.
Motion.
Motion by trustee Reyes-Palmer. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Jones. Please please read all items.
All right, 16A, motion to approve the monthly financial report in the amount of $1,590,308.78. 16B, motion to approve the warrant list 200535, dated March 9th, 2023, in the amount of $2,047,543.47. The motion C, Motion to approve the authorize the execution of the engagement letter with Ryan's LLC, formerly known as Kane McKenna and Associates, for the performance of professional services related to all active tax increments, financing districts within the village of Maywood. 16D, motion to approve and authorize the execution of an engagement letter for the performance of professional services relating to zoning code updates, responding to 180-day moratorium. Sorry. Salon, barber, and nail shops, live music permits, pop-up retail, special event space, tobacco shops, and fast food. E, motion to approve and authorize the execution of Imperial Realty letter dated 1/15/2023 for the term extension of communication facilities interagencies lease agreement with the Imperial Realty Company and Claremore Family Associates, LP, Village Security Camera Antennas. New term May 1st, 2023 to April 30th, 2024. Base rent $100 per year. Annual electric fee $150. 16F. Motion to ratify approval and execution of the demolition contract, Spirit Wrecking and Excavation, dated 2/13/2023 for demolition and debris removal of fire damaged house. Rehearse the budget. What number was it? Thank you. At 801 South 7th Avenue in the amount of $23,000 with the waiver of a competitive bidding process. Motion to approve and authorize the execution of a quote number 772 dated 12/9/2022 with Westchester Lock and Key Inc. of Westchester, Illinois for purchase and installation of new security locks and keys for the Maywood Police Station in the amount of $5,663 with a waiver of the competitive bidding process. 8, motion to approve purchase of a striking power stretcher, PPXT cot and antler fastener for the fire department from Stryker of Chicago, Illinois in the amount of $27,151.47 with a waiver of the competitive bidding process. I, motion to approve. Motion to authorize and direct the Edelson Law Firm to complete and submit on behalf of the Village of Maywood the participation instructions for opting in for the participation agreements, national settlements agreements regarding opioid class action litigation with pharmaceutical manufacturers Teva and Allergen and pharmacies CVS, Walgreens, and Walmart, and to further approve and authorize the execution of the participation agreements, national settlement agreements by the village president and the village clerk or their designees or the Edelson Law Firm. J, motion to direct the village manager to send a notice of non-renewal of Pro-Champs agreement of property registration Champions LLC, PRC, to discontinue the property registration and enforcement services under Maywood Village Code, Section 150.031, registration of foreclosing mortgage property and vacant property. K, resolution approving and adopting an administrative policy for obtaining handicap parking signs and drop-off zone permits for persons with disabilities. L, resolution authorizing and approving the execution of and the filing of an application by Village of Maywood for a project to be funded under the Cook County 2023 Invest in Cook program and confirming the financial commitment of the village project South Maywood Drive from West Village limits up to 19th Avenue roadway improvements. M, resolution authorizing and approving the execution of and the filing of an application by the Village of Maywood for a project to be funded under the Community Development Block Grant Program for the 2023 Community Development Block Grant Program year 2024 CDBG project, 21st Avenue from Van Buren Street to Wilcox Street roadway improvements. And resolution of the Village of Maywood accepting the extension of the grant period for the Illinois Housing Department Authority's Strong Communities Program and approving and authorizing the execution of the amendment to the program funding agreement. Oh, what? I'm sorry. Oh, I thought I read the wrong one. Resolution approving and authorizing a professional service agreement with Milbert Coleman, Bryson Phillips, Grossman PLLC, D/B/A, Hero Property Registry for property registration and enforcement services pursuant to Maywood Village Code, Section 150.031, registration of foreclosing mortgage properties and vacant properties. P, ordinance amending Schedule 1, traffic signs of Chapter 75, traffic schedules of Title, is that 7?
7.
Okay. Traffic code of the Maywood Village Code signs, authorized stop signs for the eastbound and westbound traffic at the intersections of 10th Avenue and Oak Street and 12th Avenue and Oak Street. Q, ordinance authorizing the creation and insurance of Class C liquor license, temporary special event liquor license for non-village owned property to applicant Maywood Park District for the 2023 Wind Down Wednesday special events to be held at the 50 West Madison Street property. 2023 special event dates, June 14th and 28th, July 12th and 26th, and August 9th and 23rd, with the waiver of the payment of the liquor license fees, $75 per event. The special event license fees, $75 per day for each event, and the background check. Okay, R, authorizing the creation and assurance of a Class E liquor license, temporary license to sell or transfer liquor on municipality, owned property, 2023, Maywood Fest, September 8th through 10th, 2023, other 2023 special event dates, February 18th, March 18th, May 13th, and December 20th, with the waiver of the amount of the liquor license application fees, $75 per event. The special event license fees, $125 per day for each event, and the background check. Attachment same as omnibus item Q. S, resolution authorizing the approval and execution of order number 2 to master services agreement, addendum, right? I said it right? Yeah, that. To agreement installation payment, agreement and state of work with Impact Networking LLC for IT support services and purchase and maintenance of IT equipment, software licensing, upgrades for access to government community cloud in the amount not to exceed $3,869.
All right. Please call the roll.
Trustee Sanchez, Trustee Reyes-Plummer,
Aye.
Trustee Jones.
Aye.
Trustee Lightfoot. Trustee Lightfoot.
Aye.
Trustee Pepper.
Aye.
Trustee Brandon.
I said the whole alphabet.
Trustee Brandon. Mayor Booker.
Aye. All right, we had no new business, no old business, no trustee comments. We need to go into closed session to discuss A, pending litigation, B, probable and imminent litigation, and then D, purchase or lease of real property for use by the village. Need a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by trustee Brandon, second by trustee Reyes-Plummer. Are there any questions? All right.
Trustee
Call roll, please.
Trustee Sanchez, Trustee Reyes-Plummer,
Aye.
Trustee Jones.
Aye.
Trustee Lightfoot. Trustee Peppers.
Aye.
Trustee Brandon.
Aye.
Mayor Booker.
Aye.
Motion carried. Time is 8:21.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for coming out tonight. And again, Ms. Layton, welcome to the meeting. Before we all go, we're just going to sing happy birthday to Trustee Melvin Lightfoot. On behalf of Kleinthorpe and Jenkins, they have brought him a birthday cake. So we can do, his birthday is last week, March 6th. So we can do 1, 2, you know what to do. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to